Hey everyone, this is JCK, and I have the absolute pleasure of bringing back one of my favorite guests. And you may remember back in, I think it was the end of 2020 when I first started my channel, I spoke to an incredible woman. I will call her a spiritual warrior, Jeanice Barcelo. And this interview that I did with her, which was number 69 in my files, it was the most life-changing interview. And when she speaks truth, absolute truth. She's an activist, she's an author, she's an educator. She is so much more. And I want you all to listen very, very carefully to Jeanice Barcelo. If you haven't come across her before, please, I will share the links below. And Jeanice is here with me now, so I'm going to bring you on. How are you, Jeanice? We've had a quick little chat of so good to see you. So good to see you. You know,
Thank you.
From the moment we first met, I just I felt a strong, I'll say, soul family bond with you. I really did. I really, really did. And I see you as this. And I hate the term way shower, but you are such a force to be reckoned with. Everyone I know that listened to our interview the last time, and you brought me to tears. But that's because it was truth, you know, and it was truth that it was uncomfortable for me to hear because it brought up things about my own, the childbirth, you know, my childbirth, experience with my daughter, and but I had to hear it. And this is the thing, and this is why we say, I mean, I am one of those people that I'm as blunt as you can be. I speak the truth, and my truth drowns people sometimes, but you have to hear it, especially when we're in a world of, and we were just saying this off camera, a complete inversion of what it should be. So Jeanice, how are you?
I'm okay. We might want to just kind of warn the listeners that the information that gets shared tonight is really not intended to make anybody feel guilty about anything that's occurred in the past. It's to bring light to things that have been held in our unconscious. And when we can bring it into the conscious mind, we can begin the resolution process at a conscious level, which speeds things up very, very quickly and also makes our journey a bit gentler, because we're constantly creating from the unconscious. And we tend to repeat patterns of trauma and constantly recreate similar things.
Yeah.
So the way to break it is to bring the trauma to consciousness, find the origins, and begin the resolution process consciously. So that's part of what's going to happen. I know as we move through this discussion, it may make people uncomfortable because mind control will begin breaking down as we talk about these things. And that can be very physiologically uncomfortable. But stick with it, because there's so much here, and there's so much potential for liberation and for healing and for true love to emerge through that healing, that it's worth it. It's worth it to stick with this and allow the truth to unfold.
I just love listening to you, because when truth speaks, you know, we get those tingles, and it is what we've been seeking. It's always been that. This is the thing, what you're about to describe to everybody, because you work with various topics. It's childbirth, it's parenting, it's families, it's Wi-Fi danger. It's basically about everything that has covered up the true family bond and the true way of living. And you were saying the divine or the sacred, all of that inverted reality that we've lived in. This is what you are essentially awakening people to, and opening it up, but then giving solutions as to how do we recreate a new world. You've got a website called The Birth of a New Earth, or let's have a look, because
Birth of a New Earth.
birthofanewearth.com. This is Jeanice's, this will be in the description below, birthofanewearth.com. She's got books and DVDs, new programs. Did you?
If you scroll up just a bit,
Mhm.
you'll be able to see the title. Oh no, I guess that's
Was that
strange.
on About? I don't know. Yeah, because when I first opened your website, it was on this page, and we haven't got your title of.
Normally you'd see the name of the website at the top, but we're not
Yeah.
seeing.
Oh, it's here. Up here. Yeah. birthofanewearth.com.
Yeah.
And Jeanice has got 7 new programs for 2022. Did you want to talk about that first? What would you like to talk about first?
I think we should follow up with what you were saying, JC, in that my work is multifaceted, but basically what I'm trying to do is to provide people with the keys to the preservation of love in families. And it starts with the way that we conceive our children, and the way that the children are gestated and birthed is critically important. And of course, in our world, young people are being educated about how to have sex education, have sex, have sex, have sex. What they're not being educated about is how to have healthy relationships and how to bring children onto this earth in the most loving and joy-filled way. And this is really the key to our well-being and to the preservation of love in families. And always a strong civilization, a strong state, however you want to look at it, is going to require strong bonded families. And if those do not exist, then the civilization and the state, nation, will collapse. It will break down, because the very core foundation of a healthy civilization is enduring human love, bonded family love. So my work has many components. And as you said, we're living in an inverted reality. We're living in a satanic matrix, literally. And the way that we're doing it is feeding into that matrix. It is creating that matrix because of the way we're bringing children here. And even the way that we're attracted to each other is often based on physical appearance. It's lust-based instead of authentic love. Very, very different. So there's so much here, to discuss. So there's a broad array of things that may come up.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I can this recent virus pandemic lockdown has brought about from the discussions from the audience, because I'm trying to bring a roundtable together of parents and the impact that has had on their children. And what I'm seeing is there's 2 sides to this lockdown. That if you had a good family to begin with, but you were now forced to be in this lockdown process, what essentially happened to a lot of families, from what I could tell, is that the devices have entered the story of the family unit. Everybody is living separate under one roof, immersed in this device. That's broken down the families. This is from what I could tell from the families that I'd spoken to. And not only that, we've got readily available pornography, you've got readily available all of these things, programming, the actual device itself, deteriorating health. All of these things are starting to break down the family unit. So they're coming at us from every angle. It's not just the actual paradigm of sexuality or birthing and whatever. It's like they're coming at us from every angle, aren't they?
Yes. The devices, what we need to understand is that the frequencies coming through the devices are not only anti-life, but they are Luciferian frequencies. These are frequencies that were never designed to be on the earth, and they are frequencies that are generated through the basic building blocks of creation. So they literally blow atoms apart. And as the atoms try to recover from the assault, they emit radiation. right? It's the same thing humans do when we've been traumatized. We literally emit radiation as we're trauma, okay? So they harvest the trauma energy and recycle it through these devices, okay? Naturally, when you have Luciferian frequencies coming into the home and feeding into the minds of the family and especially the children, we're gonna have a major disruption in love. Everything about the Luciferian forces is about attacking love and about attacking everything that is good and beautiful in our world. They hate God. They hate everything that's good and beautiful, and they take great delight in destroying what God gave us.
They're a death cult.
The beauty of this world and the beauty of human love, right? So they get off on this, right? They get off on destroying that. The other piece of these devices is that we have, when we say lockdown, they've got the entire earth in a frequency lockdown right now through the towers that are speaking to all of these devices that people are surrounded by in their homes and in their communities. Yes. So yeah, we have a Luciferian lockdown right now. And the only way to break through it is A, to see it, B, to determine I'm going to break the link. I'm not using these devices. I'm not letting my children use these devices. We're going to find a way to wire everything in the house, you know, because I'm on wired stuff. I don't use any wireless stuff ever. So it's doable. And then you break the link, then you can emerge out of the Luciferian matrix. And it's one more kink in their control system. Each person that they lose is a help to breaking this lockdown.
Absolutely. So that's we're actively creating our version of a
Yes.
new earth. This is what I keep talking about with people. People keep going, well, when's Trump coming back? When is this going to, because they just think that this thing's going to come in and flip everything and then everything's better. And it's not how it works. We literally have to undo the matrix ourselves, and we need to, I mean, you show everybody these things, you show everybody how to do it. This is I think for me, your work around Wi-Fi and EMF is the thing that I need to work on. I know this. I know it's got such a strong hold, especially when you've got a business to run and you're trying to put out social media content. If I wasn't a social media content creator, I would seriously just switch everything off and like never have it on ever again. One of the best things I ever did was not have Christmas and go by myself to an off-grid tiny home for a few days, and the physical, dramatic, instant thing to my body, and this was on a farm in the middle of nowhere. I felt it. I felt things coming out of my skin.
Oh, yeah.
I felt things purging out of my skin. I think this was nanotech. I felt I lost 3 kilograms in, that's like nearly 7 pounds in 3 days. That would be
Wow.
the inflammation,
Wow.
right? That would be
Amazing.
it would be the
Yeah.
inflammation that this is
Yeah.
creating. And this is what people don't realize. I luckily take a lot of things, but again, I know the impact of all of this. I know the impact of the Wi-Fi and what it does to cells. It blasts them apart, basically. And what, I've got an autistic daughter. I know the effect of devices. Just switching it off for a day, there's a dramatic change in the children. So I know
Oh,
all of this.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So how do you? Sorry, go on.
I just want to say that if you've got an autistic child, this is critical to understand, because my research indicates that ultrasonic radiation in combination with wireless radiation is the driving force for the autism epidemic. These things,
I know.
have created genetic disturbances in many of the children with autism, what
Yeah.
they call de novo genetic mutations.
Yeah.
These are new genetic mutations that never existed in the family line before, that are showing up for the first time in the family in the children who are autistic. And these genetic mutations are created one of two ways: through
Mhm.
genetic damage to the sperm or egg of the children, or to genetic damage to the child in early in utero. And how does that happen? From radiation exposure. Yes? And ultrasonic radiation and wireless radiation. And I will say that every single wireless device is emitting ultrasound. These frequencies are in the ultrasonic range. And so we and our children are not only being subjected to electromagnetic radiation, but also acoustic radiation. And some people can hear it,
This is
right? You can hear the
this is what they
frequencies.
use in mind control, right? Because in MK
Whoa,
Ultra, that they developed it went beyond
harmonics.
the harmonics. It went beyond just the trauma-based mind control. It then also included harmonics, which
You use harmonics.
yeah,
Yes, what's happening is that people are being entrained to the Luciferian
frequency.
frequencies. Their brains are in training.
So
They cannot connect. Huh?
why is it that some of us are deeply affected by this and some of us are breaking out of this? What is the reason?
I
Because
don't have an answer.
yeah,
I don't have an answer to why some people are willing to address this and some people aren't. I can say my own experience is that it often takes people getting sick, or one of their children or pets becoming very, very ill, before they're willing to seriously look at this issue and try to address it. And sometimes even then, as in the case with my family, my mom's gonna.
we were talking off air, and yeah, we were both saying that both our families have they've all jammed, and it may be that is their soul contract. It may be that they have created this reality where that is a real thing, and that is or they're resonating with that particular frequency. But we know the thing is, like with myself, for example, okay, so I can remember even before all of this was widely known, and way before mobile phones, I mean, I just knew, don't drink the water. I knew. I was like, don't drink the tap water. So we're talking over nearly 3 decades of me not drinking fluoridated water ever. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then you've got, and I just knew about the medical system. Now here I am, 46 this year. Okay. I think I'm healthier now than I was in my 20s.
Yep.
And this is after hormonal disturbances, bombarded with medications in my 20s and 30s and my pregnancy. And I'm on 0 medications. I don't do any of it. I'm completely out of the system. Okay. When I say out of the system, my daughter, when you've got a child with a disability, they try to pull you in. Okay. They will go, we'll give you money. We will give you money. And you sign a contract with the devil, basically. Okay. And I was this year or last year, I was just like, nope, I don't care how much money they're giving me I cut all contracts with them. They cannot tell me what to do. They can't tell me what to do with my child. Pulled her out of school. She's not in homeschool. Sorry, she's not in, even with the Steiner school, that's it. They were connected to the government. I was like, we're out of here. Okay. I pulled her right out. And so we have these things, but it still is a shock to me to learn these things. Like we're talking decades of knowing and being awake and knowing that the medical industrial complex is doing what it's doing. But I will tell you this, when I was pregnant, so 2015, I gave birth to my daughter in March. So 2014 was spent basically every week, 2 to 3 times a week in hospital. They really pulled me into the medical system with my pregnancy. They, number one, they go, right, you've got a weight problem and you're over 35. This is a geriatric pregnancy. You're going to get This is a high risk pregnancy. You're going to get diabetes. So we're going to start you now on insulin. And this is literally how they pulled me in. Okay. They
Yep.
pulled me right in. And the amount of manhandling and medical intervention into this pregnancy, I look back in horror, because
Yeah.
what they do is they get you with the fear. And when
Yeah.
you're pregnant and it's your first full pregnancy and you've lost babies before,
Yes, I
okay,
understand.
because
Yep.
of whatever, okay, hormonal interventions, whatever the reason for the babies being lost before, our diet, our environment, you are like, okay, I'll do anything. I'll do anything you tell me, right?
That's right.
Because
Yeah.
you think that they put the fear of God in you, okay, or lack of God. I remember they would take my blood pressure and they would go, wow, your blood pressure is really good for someone your age. It's like, really?
Well, the
It's
irony, of
like,
course, is that the gestational diabetes thing is a joke because women's blood sugar naturally goes up during
I know
pregnancy
this now.
because it helps the baby grow. There's a very famous obstetrician, Michel Odent. I don't know if you've heard of him, a French obstetrician. He called gestational diabetes um, the diagnosis looking for a disease.
It is
It does not
absolutely.
exist. And here they are
You're growing a
calling people.
baby. You're growing a baby.
Yeah.
Of course, your blood sugar is going to go up. But
Yeah.
this is the thing. And I remember trying to control the blood sugar with my diet, and they went off at me and they said, no, you're on insulin. We need to increase your insulin. I was like, what? And they're going, you need to add more carbohydrates to your diet. And I was like, why? And they're like, because your blood sugar will go lower. And I go, but isn't that a good thing? Isn't that a good thing for it to be manageable rather than being, and it was just awful. And then they come in and they start talking to you about vaccines while you're pregnant. They start
Yeah.
talking to you about, have you really got to protect your child before they come into this world from I don't know which one it
Such
was.
an inversion.
And yeah, the whole system. I was in hospital longer. Most women are out of the hospital within 2 days. I was there after I gave birth, for 9 days. Okay. I did not even have a C-section. So I was in there longer than a person who had a C-section. The only saving grace in this whole thing, and don't forget, they're like high risk. We're going to keep giving you ultrasounds. We're
Yeah,
going to check
exactly.
on your baby every week. Ultrasounds bombard. Can you imagine?
And then surprise, my child has been diagnosed with autism.
Head injury, basically, in trauma for me, trauma for her, induced labor. I remember this
Yep.
nurse
Yep.
shoving her hand inside me, the absolute
Mhm.
trauma inside of me. I
Birth
was
rate.
wounded and screwed something into the skull of my baby.
Her head.
So
Yeah.
head injury, then forceps delivery. Then they didn't listen to me when I said you need to delay clamping. They clamped it straight away. Okay. The saving
Yeah.
grace was breastfeeding. That was my saving grace. I breastfed her until she was 4 years and 2 months old.
Beautiful.
And immediate skin to skin contact, because I educated myself. And so this is why we need your information, because if somebody's thinking of having a child or about to have a child, they need to start rethinking about how we're bringing our children into this world completely, even from conception.
Yes, and also people that have been subject to these protocols, whether in giving birth themselves or whether they experienced it as they were being birthed into this world. There's major trauma here that the system is holding, our systems, and we have a tendency to recreate that trauma when we go to give birth to our children if we don't heal it. So it's really helpful to talk about it, bring it to consciousness, and seek the means to heal it. Um, and yeah, to educate future parents about this so that they can do the healing necessary to avoid traumatic repetition, and get themselves ready to give birth in a really beautiful way. Let's start bringing babies in without this medical interference in the birth process, because from my research, there's no benefit. All of it is harmful from A to Z, everything that they're doing, everything you just named, the induction, right? The cord clamping, the birth rape, screwing something into the baby's head. This is, I mean, what are you thinking?
Separating the
What
child.
sadistic psychopath said,
They
okay,
are
we want to listen to the heart rate by screwing something into the baby's head?
into
Really?
that soft part of their head. Absolutely.
Into
And
the
I
soft
remember, I mean,
part
it
of
was
the
just
baby's head.
awful. And for years, you know, she didn't want anything touching her head for years. It was
Oh,
impossible
yeah.
for me to wash her hair. It was
Yeah.
awful.
They
And
don't want anything.
it's just much better now with that, with all of those things. But um, I was going to say, oh, and during so there's the induction, and then we've got, what was the other, separating the child from the parent. They're really trying to rip her away from me. Oh, shine a bright light as soon as she, you know. And I remember her dad, I mean, I'm not with him anymore, but he was protecting her from the light, you know, just he was really
Oh,
protecting.
beautiful.
He was really good. He was, I have to get, and I've said this to him recently. I said, there's one thing, I said, I know you and I are not together anymore, but you were a great dad during her birth and for me and for you. You know, he's an amazing dad for his daughter. But, you know, skin to skin contact for him. These are the things that I researched, and I took back my power with that. And I collected, and I'm not want to make it all about me, but I'm just trying to give an example to the audience of my own experience. I collected colostrum. Now, here's the thing. The midwives were brilliant, but the people in the NICU, the neonatal care unit, were satanic. I can't think of any other word but to call them
So
satanic.
your baby ended up in NICU also.
Yeah, because they had pumped me full of sugar. Okay. She had high sugar. They had prepared me for this. They said, because you're on insulin, we're going to have to take your child away from you when she first, and you're going to have to take her.
God.
And I'll go, but wouldn't the breast milk be the best thing for her to fix all of this? Oh, yeah. So I was like, grabbed her as soon as she came out, and I put her on me immediately. And she did the whole thing. She crawled up, went straight to the breast, and had her first feed. That would have saved her life, I'm telling you, because she was then taken to the NICU. I had collected so much colostrum, they couldn't believe it. Prior to giving birth, I had collected about 2 weeks worth of colostrum and froze it and made sure they had it. And the midwife was like, this is amazing. This is like gold. I can't believe you did this. And I was like, yeah, no, it's all good. And they said, usually people with gestational diabetes don't produce milk. So this is the other thing that they're trying to also do, stop the, you know, breast milk. They want us to be on this GMO formula. And I'm not criticizing people who can't breastfeed. Don't freak out. And then I caught them, and I remember I was exhausted from this birth, and they said, you need to be up here by 8 a.m. to breastfeed her. This is like 3 a.m. in the morning. You have to be up here by 8 a.m. to feed her. Otherwise, we're going to give her formula. And I said, hang on a minute. I've got colostrum in the freezer. And he said, that's not enough to feed her. I said, are you kidding? Yes, it is. I've got colostrum. God knows what happened to this colostrum. It disappeared. It disappeared.
Oh my God.
This instinct in me, I was exhausted, but this instinct in me, I barely slept. By 8 a.m., I walked in that freaking door.
Yeah.
Okay. Injured and everything. And I walked in, and this guy had a bottle in his hand and my daughter. And I said, and I grabbed her and I took her. I said, don't you dare. I told you. And I fed her for like 2 hours. I just fed her and fed her and fed her. And then I remembered she was very quickly like taken out of the NICU. She didn't have to stay there longer. I think she was there. My ex-husband and my mum went up and saw her. I went and had a rest. I came back again. I caught him with the freaking bottle.
What's with these
And
people?
I said, what are you doing? I said, what are you doing? I've got colostrum.
They are satanic.
Yeah, it is. And it was like, I mean, I couldn't believe this. And it was a male nurse. And I just remembered looking at him and thinking, are you like, and when I look back, I go, is he in some cult or something? Like, honestly, it felt like this satanic thing, like he had to do this thing.
Yeah.
And I know it doesn't sound like a big deal. Most people would be thinking, what's wrong with giving them formula? It's okay. And to me, it is a violation. You've already violated every other part of this birth.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Don't you dare cross this line that I've specifically spent all this time collecting colostrum, and then you misplace it.
Oh,
and then you try
I think they took it. I think they used it for, I don't know what, but I think they took it.
Oh my God. Oh my God, is all I can say. I also had a baby in NICU. Okay, so I know the satanic energies that are going on there and how these babies are suffering. No child that is damaged or hurting should ever be separated from its mother. A child that needs extra support should be skin to skin. There's something called kangaroo mother care, right? So a baby should be skin to skin with mom or dad or somebody that loves this baby whenever any medical intervention. The baby should be skin to skin 24/7.
That's what I did. That's what I did.
And especially if there's any medical interventions coming, that baby needs to be with its mother or father, because we've got very painful, traumatic, abusive protocols happening in neonatal intensive care units multiple times a day. These babies being jabbed, in their umbilical artery, in their fingers, in their toes, and the arteries into their head, the arteries. I mean, it's just unbelievable what they're doing to these babies, putting them, paralyzing them while they're being intubated without giving them any anesthetic whatsoever. And parents of babies in NICU have to watch this day after day. Sometimes they have to watch their baby paralyzed for weeks and months at a time. It's impossible to interact. This was the case with me, right? For 2 months, they didn't take my baby off paralysis drugs. So, and doing all kinds of brutal things to her without anesthetic. And no matter whether we consciously know this is happening, when our baby is suffering, we're feeling it.
Yeah.
And it's enough to make us want to jump out of our own skin to watch what's happening to our babies. And then putting them in incubators and things where they're receiving no touch except this extremely abusive, cruel touch. And babies in NICU are also often deprived of oxygen intentionally for experiments. I write about all of this in my birth trauma book. The stuff that's going on in hospitals, people need to understand these are Luciferian temples of the occult.
Yeah,
that's what a hospital is.
Yeah.
The medical establishment is run by Luciferians who have as their agenda to not only mind control you and your children, but to separate your capacity to love each other and to separate your capacity to connect with the divine. And they do it through trauma, extreme trauma of infants. They're also extremely traumatizing mothers and fathers.
Yeah.
Because mothers take a bigger hit during hospital births because they're cutting into your body through C-section, through episiotomy, taking your birthing power completely, and then also relegating fathers to the sidelines and rendering them powerless to protect their beloved.
That betrayal. There's that betrayal. Yeah. It took Jeanice, it took me and I'm very transparent here. I mean, I've been celibate for 2 years now. Okay. So I think in that time, I have learned to honor myself and heal that part of my body,
Right
because
on.
if I was ever single in the past, I was gallivanting all over the place,
Me as well.
right?
I understand.
You understand? So, but when I'm in a committed relationship, I'm in a committed relationship. But what I was doing
Yeah.
in between,
Mhm.
if I broke up with someone, was straight into sexualized behavior. And that's because, and look, I'll say it. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. This is incense, by the way. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I don't gamble. Okay, but
Me
the
either.
sex was the addiction. Okay, and it wasn't the act; it's the pursuing of it almost. Okay, and so but that's the fast society that we're in. It's all of that, and I'll tell you something. This lockdown has made that's a good thing that came out of this, because a lot of us were forced into this quarantine of you can't go out and just gallivant all over the place, right?
Yeah, be
And
careful if you do,
yeah,
because
and now what's
you could have,
happening? You could,
yeah.
but I mean, I'm in a committed relationship, but it's basically we have to reclaim this part and heal the trauma, is what I was trying to say to you. What is your solution? How do we undo this? How do we undo this, the birthing trauma, the generational trauma? You've got this in your course. Should I show them some of the courses that you have?
We can go through the courses if you like. Let me just answer the question very quickly.
Yeah.
The key to really healing this is bringing it to consciousness. That is, going over every one of the protocols that are happening during birth, understanding if any of these things happened to you in your own birth, or if any of these things happened to you when you were trying to give birth. The system that I use to heal it is a Japanese system of energy medicine called Jinshin Jitsu. So I teach this to my clients and my students for the healing. People need to find a modality that enables them to work with the nervous system, the electrical circuitry of the body, in order to rewire this trauma tension in the system and release it. So energy work is really powerful for healing. And there's only a few things I recommend. Jinshin emotional freedom technique has helped some people. Watsu therapy, especially for prenatal trauma. If you were in a womb where you were not wanted, if you were accidentally conceived, your mother thought about abortion, your father didn't want you, whatever it is. If you're in a womb where you were not wanted, if you're in a toxic womb where your mother was smoking, drinking, whatever, or your parents were constantly arguing or living in poverty, all kinds of trauma can happen in the womb. So bring it to consciousness. Watsu is amazing for prenatal trauma. If you're one of the people that has prenatal trauma, Jinshin is also really powerful for the healing of prenatal trauma. So find the modalities that are gentle, non-invasive, and non-cathartic. What we don't want to be doing is rebirthing, which is extremely cathartic and can actually re-traumatize
Trauma.
people that have had a lot of trauma, because all of a sudden memories will come,
Yeah.
rushing, and adrenaline and
And it
all
can bring
kinds
up,
of,
I've heard of people suddenly realizing that they were satanically ritually abused from these things as well. Like, do you understand?
yeah,
Because
we were,
yeah,
we were,
yeah, but you
we
know what
were,
I mean? Like actively
yes,
with a
yes,
cult. Yeah, some people have
yeah.
remembered, oh my God, or they've seen birth blood, blood from and then that triggers a memory. Can you spell out the two techniques, because people are going to ask, but can you spell out
Okay.
Jinshin?
I teach Jinshin, Jin
Mhm.
Shin, two
Okay.
words, Jinshin, and then it's Jitsu, Jyutsu, Jin Shin Jitsu, Japanese system.
Okay.
Very, very powerful, very, very effective.
And the
It
other
saved my
one?
life. The other one I was talking about for prenatal trauma is Watsu.
Watsu.
Okay. WATSU, Watsu therapy. There's also cranial sacral therapy.
I was about to say, is that good? Yeah, because I'm going to start that.
That's privy to prenatal and birth trauma, a therapist, that can be very helpful, and emotional freedom technique. Those are the ones I can safely recommend. Other than that, I would say just be careful with things like primal therapy, rebirthing. There's a couple of modalities out there that will, where you relive the trauma, which can be extremely re-traumatizing and compound the trauma,
Yeah,
which we don't want to do.
we don't
We
want
want
to
the
do
trauma, we want to titrate the healing process at a pace that your body can release it without you going into catharsis, without you going into a recreation of all the traumatic events. We want it to be a gentle, easy, it's got to be slow, gentle, you know, not overwhelming the system again, because that's going to make things worse. So I only recommend a few modalities for that reason.
Great. That's fantastic. Can we talk quickly about the sexualization of our society and how we are having sex? Because this is something that I think
Yes, please.
that triggered me, because listen, I'm very sexual. Okay. And I say things and I say, you know, I joke around about it. And I know it sounds like I don't believe that the sex act is sacred. I do 100%. And if there's anything I learned in the last 2 years is how sacred it is. Okay. And how I would never, ever allow anyone to touch me unless I was in a bonded, committed divine union. So can we talk about that? Because we have to undo this. Let's
talk about it.
Social media, pop culture, music, everything has just really sexualized us. Now, I know for a fact that the agenda by the cabal was 1962 to introduce the Beatles into society because they wanted to break down the family unit and remove God from the family home. That is a Tavistock thing. This is what they were doing. Okay. And this was what is it? Degradation of society has been coming at us from all ways. So when do you think, first of all, when do you think that this all began, when they completely eroded the sexual bonds? Or where do you think, I mean, has it always been?
I have a double DVD set, which goes into some depth about the introduction of pornography by Hugh Hefner in 1953, which happened at the same time Alfred Kinsey, who was a sadomasochistic pedophile. He came out with several books on the sexual behavior of the human male and the sexual behavior of the human female. The human female book came out the same year that Hugh Hefner came out with his book. And this was orchestrated, all right, the orchestration of the introduction of pornography with the release of these books by Kinsey, all designed to promote the idea that children are sexual from birth, that females actually want to have sex, that that's really what they're all about. You know, keep in mind that Kinsey interviewed prostitutes and prisoners, and these are the people that were in his surveys that he was basing his research on. Pedophiles, pedophiles who literally had entrapped infants. Okay, there's a table in one of Kinsey's books where it lists, I could show you this table, it lists like 7 months old, 24 orgasms in 24 hours or something like this. These children were masturbated round the clock by pedophiles, who then reported that these infants and very young children had orgasms. And Kinsey's definition of orgasm included things like tremors, screaming for help. I mean, you would not believe the sadistic, psychopath energy of this research that they put forth as if it had legitimacy.
And you know, they
And
make a
used it-
movie of this. They make a movie about the Kinsey report and glorified it as though he was this groundbreaking, wonderful researcher. This every time they make
Kinsey,
a movie about someone, it's a fucking lie. That's what I want to say to
let me
everybody.
tell you about Kinsey. Kinsey was so disturbed that he literally stood on a chair. He wrapped his scrotum with the rope, took the other end of the rope and put it over a pipe in his basement. He stood on a chair, okay, and he hung himself by his balls and filmed it for his pornography collection. This is how sick he was. He circumcised himself for his pornography collection. He was obviously a victim of satanic ritual abuse, okay?
Tell me about it.
There's no question this man was extremely disturbed. And my pornography DVD goes into depth about this and the interconnection between pornography and the Kinsey research and the Rockefeller Institute, who funded the Kinsey research. All of this in preparation to change society's morals, beliefs, and behavior around sex. Because prior to the 1950s, it was, not acceptable for women to be having sex out of wedlock. If a woman got pregnant, as my mother did in 1958, she wasn't married, she was shamed. But what prompted her in 1958 to engage in this kind of sexual activity is the pornography that was coming out since 1953. What prompted her and my father to do what they did, to bring a child into this world accidentally that they were not ready to raise. Yeah. There's been enormous suffering for all involved as a result of that mistake.
And the hippie
and
movement. Yeah, hippie movement as well. Yeah,
what are you saying?
I was just sorry. I was going to say the hippie movement in the 60s was also CIA, creation. It was not free love. It was all a complete social engineering.
They call it love. It's got nothing to do with love. It's the antithesis of love, which is part of the problem with how we're having sex. Is that it really is about getting off. It's very rarely about the creation of life. It's very rarely that two people who deeply love each other will decide to bring their bodies together to bring their love into eternity through the creation of life. You see, it's very, very rare that will happen. Most people are bringing their bodies together because they want to get off. And they don't realize that this is immediately going to put your life creating potential into the satanic realm. Because every time you bring your body together with somebody, this is a life creating potential. This energy is life creating. It's not sexual. We call it sexual because of our conditioning. We've got to be really aware of the conditioning. It's really life creating. It's designed for life. It's designed for the preservation of love to extend into eternity. That's what that energy is. It's not sexual. It's not to get off.
It's an energetic bond between divine masculine and divine feminine. It is supposed to be. And it's supposed to be, that's life creating force. It is a life creating force.
It's designed to bring love into eternity through the creation of life.
But there is an aspect to it. I'm going to challenge you here because there is an aspect to it that, let's say you can't have children or you're past menopause or whatever. Obviously, there is a bonding that occurs when you are in a loving relationship, and that's why you also do it.
I think that's why people do it. Often they believe that that's the case, that it will bond them. And I'm not convinced of that.
You're not convinced of that? I think that there is, because I think that there is, there are certain hormones and things that are released. I know that, for
Yes,
example,
yes.
there's for example, which is something that they've emasculated men with. A lot of men have had vasectomies and things like that, so they obviously they can't, they're shooting blanks and whatever. But the male sperm, when it is ejaculated into a woman, that is a natural antidepressant for a woman. You know, that there is this certain hormonal thing going on, a pheromone thing going on, that so I can't think of anything better than two people who are in love to share that and bond in that way. And whether it produces life or not, that bond is sacred, and that exchange of fluid is sacred. That's how I see it. That
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? It's not just about getting off. It's about, there's something else going on here that is about merging together. And how else can you do it with a physical body than that? That's my challenge to you.
I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to
It's not an
argue.
argument.
but
It's just a point of view. That's my
I
point of
can
view.
say that for sure. You're right in the sense that through intercourse, men will release vasopressin, and that's a hormone. Here's the dangerous part, is that you could be having intercourse with somebody that's not, you could end up in a false union, because
Yeah.
the vasopressin will make the man see the woman as more beautiful after he has intercourse and be wanting to be with her, even if that's not the right person for him. And the same thing with women. Women will release oxytocin and other hormones, which will make the man, it will bond you. Okay, you cannot just have intercourse without somehow bonding with this person. And the danger is that that may not be the person that is meant for you for enduring lifetime union. And there's a lot of false unions that end up breaking down, as we see. And of course, the children suffer and the parents suffer. So intercourse is very, very, very profound. And the body, I think it's only supposed to happen a couple of times in our life. And the body thinks something major is happening here. And this is the one. No matter who you're with, no matter who you're doing this
Wow.
with, the body thinks, okay, this is it, right?
Yeah.
And so there's this other thing too that comes up as I'm talking about this, is when you do this when you're young, when you start having intercourse, and the more you do it with different people, the less likely you're going to be able to find the one, to connect with the one who's right for you, because your body is so confused at this point by all the different partners and all the different semen that's come into the body.
Wow.
And there's something else called telogyny, where, now this is really critical, okay? The first person you have intercourse with, that a woman has intercourse with, will affect the outcome of all future children.
Oh, geez.
His imprint, and they know this in animal husbandry, okay? His imprint will affect any future child you have, no matter what man you have a child with. So your child may end up actually looking like the first person you ever had intercourse with, and carrying some of his genetics. This is how profound intercourse is.
And
this is why I'm
why,
saying,
yeah.
yeah, it feels good. And yeah, we feel like we're merging. When we are experiencing orgasm, there's something profound, especially neurochemically and hormonally, that happens. That's enormous. It's spiritually enormous. And we have to be very, very, very spiritually aware of what we're doing.
I think this
Because
is,
we're crossing spiritual lines that can lead us into the hell realms, where many of us have spent many decades.
oh yeah.
Like you, JC, I spent
Yeah.
much of my younger life, until I was in my late 40s, having a lot of sex. Even with, I hate to reveal so much, I was a sexual priestess.
Yeah.
I used to think I was doing sexual healing work.
Oh
I had
yeah.
really I have really gifted
Mm.
hands
Yeah.
and an ability to feel people energetically.
Yeah.
And I would often end up with men on my massage table who got erect. And I would go with it. Okay, this is my mistake.
I
I
get it.
did this for a number of years, for like 3 to 5 years, I did this. And it's
I get it.
I thought I was doing the right thing at the time, but I was under mind control programming,
Exactly.
imagining that I was healing these men, when in fact, some of these men were married and I could have been contributing to the breakdown of their
Yeah.
marriages with what I was doing. Some of these men were sexual addicts, and I could have been contributing to the sex addiction. And in my own heart, I was looking for love the whole time. I had believed that if I could sexually pleasure men, I think many women believe this.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We can use the charms of our body to attract a man and sexually pleasure the man, then the man will love us.
Yeah.
You see?
100%.
But this
And
creates
the men are also conditioned in that way as well.
and the
I
men are angry. Then the men become angry because they've been manipulated. You see, we end up suffering because we attract the wrong person, a person that wants to have sex with us, not the person that can meet us in the heart. And the men end up pissed off and suffering also because they've been manipulated by the culture and also by us. Because here we are, I was a fire dancer out there, stark raving naked in front of hundreds of people using my erotic power. Yeah, they're going to be pissed off.
I get it.
Yeah. I didn't know. You see, I didn't know the mistake I was making. And that's why I'm saying everything I say to you is not coming from a place of wanting to invoke guilt.
I
because
completely
I am guilty.
Mm-hmm.
I
We
understand.
all are. We are victims of this system.
And the mind control is very deep and affects our behavior, especially around sex, because they know if they can get us to redirect that life-creating potential into sex, our children are screwed, our relationships are screwed, and our lives are going to be painful. And we will be in the Luciferian realm because of it. Sex is their key.
Wow.
What do Luciferians do? They have sex orgies. It's part of their religion.
Yeah.
Everything's about orgasm. Everything's about
Also
sex magic, using orgasm
and
to create
the incest. A lot of the rituals are about like they're going to be the first one with their own child. Yeah, it's all of that.
raping children.
Raping
Yes,
children.
and corrupting children. That's why we have 4 and 5-year-olds in kindergarten being taught right now about masturbation, homosexuality, transgenderism, being shown pictures of adults having intercourse in children's books. Really, children are being shown pornography in kindergartens and first grade. This is happening in our school system.
And then
what we call Common Core.
And everyone thinks it's all good because they're woke, and then it's all the sexual liberation and all of that. Yeah.
They're woke, but they're not awake. They're
No.
completely mind controlled.
Absolutely, 100%.
By the dark side. That's what woke is. You gotta awaken. You gotta bust through the satanic grid. You gotta slip the veil and see this for what it is. It's not easy, my friend.
It's
the pain of looking at your own activities is enough to make anybody say, I'm not going there. I don't want to know.
Listen, I'm going to say, this is a blessing. This is a blessing that I got divorced and I haven't had sex. I'm so glad I've not touched anyone. That's probably the best quarantine I've ever been through, because it allows you to come back to yourself and realize we're basically dismantling mind control. We're basically dismantling an entire indoctrination into a cult We were born into their cult. They made us be born into
Yes.
their cult,
Yes.
Luciferian cult of theirs, into their
Yes.
death machines, which are called hospitals.
Yes.
And now, because of this is what I'm trying to say, is because of this pandemic, the flip side, the positive side is a lot of people are waking up to just how horrible the hospital systems are, how incredibly satanic they
Now
are.
they're showing themselves.
They're showing themselves.
Now the medical establishment is coming out as the tentacled. I don't mean to insult octopuses or any.
Oh no,
octopi,
listen, I talk
you
about
know.
the black octopus. There's the AI octopus. Don't worry. It's all good on the ethereal
And it's
realm.
also a dark spider energy, because I can
Yeah,
remember,
it is.
I'll share something very personal. I had a pregnancy with my first husband, and I was told in the 5th month that the baby was deformed. This baby was conceived through artificial reproductive technologies, meaning they spun my husband's sperm in a centrifuge and put it into my body. In any event, and I was on fertility drugs. They told me the baby was deformed, and at that time I chose to abort my baby because I didn't understand what abortion was.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. Okay.
Yeah.
But after that, I had a very bad dream that stays with me to this day about this spider, this black overarching spider. And I like spiders. Like, I'm happy when I see a spider. This was a satanic spider, unquestionably. And I've seen representations of this spider elsewhere.
Yeah.
To represent a specific group on this earth that has this energy of wrapping its tentacles
Yeah.
around us and the whole earth. And it's similar to an invasive vine. You know how these vines, they first look like they fit in, right? And then they begin to climb up the trees, and then you see these tentacles come out of the vine, and they start to suck the life force out of the tree until the tree dies. This is what the vines do. And then they move to another tree until they kill everything in their path. That's what that spider was. Part of that
Parasitic.
invasive, the root system is gnarly. I mean, with these vines and with this cult that's been doing this to us, the root system is gnarly, and it takes a lot to pull out these roots, so that you have to disconnect them from their source.
Yeah.
Interestingly, we are their source.
We are their source. We are their food
Which
source.
means when we disconnect, they lose their power. When we disconnect from the hospital system, from the wireless matrix, from everything they've got us ensnared with, when we just say no, no more, they lose their power, because we are their state, we are their source, their food.
That's amazing. You know, I want to just touch on the abortion thing. I promise you, I don't think I've met one woman who has not had a termination. I honestly believe that I would say probably at least 90%. At least 90% of the people I know have either had to have a medical intervention, one, or had believed that they needed to get one. I was talked into one by the doctors, and they said, "Oh, you can't have it. We've got to do an operation on you, and it's really urgent. And if you're pregnant, we're going to have to, we urge you to get it done." Yeah. So, and I remember, and it was traumatic. And with me, it was 5 weeks, 6 weeks, not even 5 weeks, 6 weeks, but it was traumatic, like really trauma. I couldn't touch my partner at the time. I couldn't look at him. I didn't want him to go anywhere near me. And they talk you into going under. So there's something else going on there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? I mean, we could go into that, but I mean,
it's one of the class, I have 7 programs that I'm offering, but I need to offer an additional 2. One about the real causes of autism, and the other one about what's really going on with the abortion industry. In my own case, it was in the 5th month that I was told the baby was deformed
yeah.
and had no skin on its stomach, and that the organs were floating around. So I had to give birth to my baby. What they do is they
I
inject some kind of solution where the baby burns to death in your womb, and then you give birth to the baby. And I was highly drugged, but I do not remember my baby's organs being outside of his body. I don't remember that at all. And I gave birth to this baby, and I looked at this baby. So they may have, a lot of what they see with ultrasound is not correct.
they did something similar
Okay.
to me and a friend of mine. They did something similar to me with my daughter. They tried to convince me she had a deformity,
Mhm.
and then they kept saying, "Well, we need to keep doing more ultrasounds." And they claimed she had a clubbed foot. They claimed, and because my dad had clubbed feet, I was thinking, "Oh my God,
Yep,
like
yep,
what?"
yep.
You know,
Yep,
and
yep.
all of this, yeah. And she was fine. And the other thing, they said she's very big. We need to induce her early. She was not big at all, at all.
But
It's
ultrasound has given them a license, you see, to do all kinds of abusive things in addition to abortion. All right, they're going to say your uterus is too small, your placenta is aging, you don't have enough fluid, this, that, and the other thing, in order so that they can get you on that treadmill of the cascade of interventions, what they
yep,
call the cascade of interventions that starts with the induction of
yep,
labor.
yeah.
An induction, of course, is an initiation. That's
Initiation.
what the word means. It's an initiation into the Luciferian order for both you and your baby.
Sorry, just got really angry because
That's what it
I
is.
just remembered my
Yeah.
fucking birth experience. That
Yeah.
literally was the most traumatic thing I have ever experienced in my life. Was the birth of my daughter, and it wasn't cut
Probably why,
open, but my God, I was traumatized. And
probably your own birth was also very traumatic, JC. I'm
I
imagining.
was born in Beirut, Lebanon, 1976, in the middle of gunfire. Okay. My mother and my father were rushing to the hospital, and my mother tells me I was planned. She says that you were not an accident, you were planned, blah, blah, blah. But my mother was very young. She was married at 14.
Wow.
And she eloped. It wasn't a forced marriage. She eloped, and then got permission from, whatever. But she was very traumatized. Okay, very traumatized. Her whole childhood was. Yeah, so I was born in the middle of in fact, that hospital was bombed shortly after I was born there. And the records office, which had my birth certificate, was destroyed and burnt to the ground. So you could say had a lot of chaos around me when I was born. And then
Probably
migrating to here, trauma, then migrating here, uprooting, I was 9 months old when we came to Australia. We were 6 months old when I went to Cyprus, 9 months when we came here. And then witnessing as a little kid, when I do regressions, I always say this, the trauma of my mum being in a new country and just upset. She's left her family behind and my dad's comforting her. And it's all of that. It's all of that. It's all of that,
the point I wanted to stress is that with traumatic repetition, when we ourselves have a traumatic pregnancy, a traumatic gestation, which clearly you did if you're in a war zone, okay? And your mother's 14, and I mean, there's things going
She
on.
was 18 when she had me. Yeah.
And probably a traumatic birth in the hospital where she gave birth to you.
Tiny,
The
and she was giving
chances
birth.
of
Yeah.
us giving birth gently are not very good because we have unresolved trauma in our bodies that's going to try to work itself out in the birth of our children. And this is what traumatic repetition is about. We're always trying to work it out, and we recreate the trauma, not because we want to hurt ourselves. We're trying to create the happy ending, you see. But very often we end up recreating the trauma and compounding it instead of resolving it. The way to stop this is bringing the trauma to consciousness and finding the tool that resonates with you to move it out of the nervous system so that we can stop the traumatic repetition and our children can come in without that intergenerational trauma. You see,
Yes.
Traumatic repetition needs to be addressed, and every single midwife, it's my personal opinion, should be asking a woman, how was your own birth? How was the relationship with your parents? How was the relationship with your beloved? What was your birth like? What was your gestation like? What happened to you when you were in your early life? Because this stuff is going to affect the way we give birth. If we're born by C-section, the chances that our baby's going to be born by C-section are very, 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 very high, unless we heal the C-section trauma. We have to understand the traumatic repetition. It's like if you're in a womb, I'm going to give you my own example.
Yeah.
If you're in a womb where you have parents that are arguing all the time, okay, your father is abusive toward your mother, speaks abusively toward your mother, right? The chances that when you come of age as a woman, the kind of guy you're going to attract is going to be a similar kind of guy to your dad who speaks to you abusively.
Yeah.
Because in your system's thinking, if I can get this guy to love me and treat me with love, I can heal my original trauma, which has to do with my dad's abuse of my mother.
Yeah.
This is how deep it goes.
Yeah.
We recreate these relationship issues again and again. And people will say, why do I recreate the same man over and over again? Why do I recreate the same type of relationship? Because you're trying to heal the original trauma.
Yeah.
We have to find the root of the trauma, which is often in prenatal life, literally.
Yeah.
It could be in conception.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could be your father and mother were watching pornography.
Yeah.
When they could see you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And people, this is in my porn DVD, the one I mentioned to you before where we talk about Kinsey. People who film porn will tell you straight up, man, that we're gathering on the set before we start filming to call demons onto the set who are going to be released into people's lives when they watch the film.
I'm so glad.
So now we're creating babies like this with porn.
So glad you brought that up because I remember when I think it was Mark that told me about that. I think I kind of already knew because I knew they did that with music videos and stuff like that. And when he said, don't watch porn, don't watch porn. You got to because they embed it with satanic things. There's all this. So I've shared that with my audience, all you male audience members out there, that I keep saying to you, stop, get your hand off it and stop looking at this stuff because it is satanic.
Yeah. You got to understand the demons have been unleashed with the porn.
Yeah.
And this is what makes the addiction so hard to break. And you're going to need spiritual support very often to break that addiction.
It is.
Okay. So this is a spiritual war. Pornography is a weapon. 100% it is a weapon of the dark forces.
What have people been doing during lockdown? Unleashing more demons. Why? Because they're stuck at home and they were bored, marriages are breaking down, or they can't get a girl and they're staring at their thing. And it's all readily available in this black screen, the black mirror. It's all there. You've already
scrying mirror that ties you to the demons.
Let them in. They're in your home. They already let you in, and they come on the what? You know what? You said something in a video, and I was like, I already knew that, because I've been saying this. I intuited it, and I said they're coming through the Wi-Fi waves. These demons
Yes, they
are
are.
coming because
Yes.
we've had a shaman that I know, as you know, his wife got attacked through email. Okay, we got attacked. It's like an AI attack, a demonic, archonic, whatever you want to call it. It came through. Okay, and I know, I've witnessed it in people I know. I've experienced it. We got to get off these things, and you go a bit stir crazy if you're on it for too long. This is what I was saying to you. It's hard to make an appointment with me because I hate sitting in front of a computer. I get up and I
Well,
don't.
just got to get you off the Wi-Fi so that when you're
Yeah.
on the computer, you're not using Wi-Fi,
Yes,
JC.
I will.
Really
I'll
not.
do that with you. No, I'm going to.
It's
I'm going to
super
organize
easy.
that. Yeah,
Really.
and I'm going to
This is one of
organize
the
that
class.
for. Yeah, I'm going to organize that
I
for
have a
her.
class coming up on April 20th.
April
Okay.
20th. Okay.
April 20th, where I'm going to walk people through this.
Let's look at this. Okay, everybody, because we've been having a big chat. If you go to the link, no, I love it. I can talk forever with you. We'll go.
The
So
7 new programs.
yep, you're going to go
okay.
to the link below in the description, and I'm also going to put it in the pinned comment. Jeanice Barcelo's website is called Birth of a New Earth. We will also talk about that really quickly, but 7 new programs, you will find this. I will even put a separate link for this just so people can find both. 7 new programs for 2022 designed to educate, uplift, and empower. Now, I did share this a few times. I shared it in a newsletter as well. I hope you had some people signing up. Baphomet Barbie. I mean, we've seen this in a lot of the people watching this video.
The children. Yep.
A lot of the, when I was 18, I was offered a job as an animator for Disney, and I turned it down. And I knew out of 800 people, because I'm an illustrator, an artist.
Thank God you turned it down. Wow.
I knew. And this is back in the 90s. I was like, I just had this feeling when I went in the building. I was like, I can't do this. I don't know what and this is, and she's like, are you kidding? You're turning to, she said, I've had 900 applicants. You're the best one. I want you to, we can send you to the US. You can be an animator. And I was just like, I don't think I can do this. Something, just I knew, and I'm glad I did turn it down. But look at this, the phallic symbols. I could spot it a mile away now.
And
as soon as, there's also gambling. I want to say not just this. There's a lot of videos out there right now. Your kids are watching. You think they're watching kids things. There is gambling. There's some that look like gambling, like poker machines. Okay, the colors, the bright colors. They're very popular videos. They're teaching the kids the instant gratification. They're teaching kids. There was one I saw, it was a cartoon, very popular one. The father and the kid are in a bath together, and there was this weird kind of giggling, and then there's this sounds in the background that kind of, it's almost traumatic. I don't know how to explain this. There's little squeals, squeals and things, and the colors.
Yes.
And I only caught this. My daughter was watching it when I walked out the room. I came back in and I spotted it straight away. I was like, what the hell is this? And I turned it off, and she went nuts. She went nuts when I turned it off. And I never seen her behave like that. And I went, right. And I went through and I banned this whole thing. And I said to her father, don't ever let her watch something without you being there, And I explained to him, I said, this is all satanic. This is satanic. Yes. There was so much suggested things loaded in there. So we've got, just want to quickly go down. So look how affordable these programs are. Okay. I'm
going to give your people a 15% discount. I have a special page. I'm going to put something on this page that says, for people who watched the Quantum Truth program with JCK, click on this link. Okay. And then you're going to click on that link and you can go sign up for the programs at the 15% discount. This is the full price, but your listeners are going to get a 15% discount to sign up for any of these programs or all of the programs.
15% off, for these programs.
Let's start with the first one.
Well, let's
go up a little bit more, JC.
Yep, sure.
This is the name of the program, okay? And this is what we were just talking about. So we're going to be talking about, are wireless devices safe, and how can we create a radiation safe environment in our homes? All right, I'm going to be walking people through literally how to make the changes. So this is a program you yourself should be part of, Jason.
I need to be. Yes, this is the
Okay.
final frontier for me. And listen, I get sent these things all the time, right? Okay, which are
But
supposed to.
not with
And now,
Jeanice.
no. I understand now. No. I get sent these things organized, blah, blah, blah. But I am aware that it may make the wearer feel okay, but you're still getting the damage. You're still getting the cellular
Your body
damage.
is still being affected. That's right.
Body still feel being
Absolutely.
affected.
And it's cumulative. So the more you're exposed, the more danger. And the children and our pets are experiencing the most harm. The
Yeah.
reason for that is because their bodies are smaller, their heads are smaller, for example, and they have more water and they absorb more radiation. Okay, so whereas the radiation will only penetrate into your head so far, it's going to go into a child's head 3 times deeper because of the size of the child's head and the water content of the child's body. Okay, this is very critical for us to understand.
Yeah.
Our pets and our children are going to be the first to get sick. Already we're seeing insects in droves disappearing.
Yeah. I
And
always look at
birds
little
dropping dead.
birds. So yeah, if I see an area, if I see a tower, I was in a country town the other weekend, and there was this great big tower right near the bloody motel. I was like, oh, here we go, right? And but there was lots of little birds around. In fact, some were sitting on the tower. So I was like, okay, maybe it's not what I think it is. Maybe it's not as dangerous, because that's my indicator. If I see little birds and bees, maybe it's not as bad as I thought. But if there's, like, around here, there's a big Wi-Fi, what do you call it, a big transceiver, receiver, something like that nearby. And I'm in the mountains. It's supposed to be regional area, but it's like suburbia, I don't see little birds around here. I see big birds. I don't see little birds.
Where I lived on Long Island before I moved to where I'm at right now, there's a website called Antennae Search that you can look up your address. We had 79 cell towers in a 3-mile radius of the house and 169 transmitters within a 3-mile radius of the house. When I left there, we had so few birds and butterflies and bees. We used to have a lot of spiders. There were no spiders in the house. No more crickets. Crickets used to fill the house in the summertime, especially the garage. No more crickets. No more cicada bugs. Gone. They're gone. They're done.
Yeah.
Because of radiation levels. We had kittens. A mama cat gave birth in our shed, and almost all of her kittens had a genetic deformity that prevented them from developing a proper, they couldn't control their poop. They would eat and it would just come right through them. And several of them died when she tried to wean them.
Oh my God.
I never saw a mother cat looking so sick trying to feed her babies, because they were needing constant replenishment of liquids and food, because they had a genetic defect. So this is all from the radiation.
This is all radiation. We're being irradiated and swimming in Wi-Fi, as my friend Anna likes to say. So our wireless.
If you can create a safe home, you're doing everything. You're doing.
I've got to do this good. ASAP.
Also, everything around you. Huh?
I said I have to do this ASAP. Basically.
I hope you will. I hope you will join the class. It's on April 20th. The trick is going to be the time for you.
That's okay.
Because I think I've scheduled it for, I have to take a look. I think I scheduled it for 2 p.m. Eastern, but these calls will be recorded.
That's okay. 2 p.m. Eastern is.
Everybody that signs up gets the MP4.
Oh, it's early morning. Yeah.
Everybody that signs up gets the MP4.
MP4. Okay.
And then you can also email me if you have questions. Okay.
Great. And
That's
then the
program
next,
number one.
that's program number 1, program number 2, because we've got 7 of these. June 22nd,
Yeah.
2022. Great.
We'll go through this quickly. Infertility. There's an epidemic right now with
Yes, there is.
men in developed countries having 60% less sperm than they did in 1970. And women are also becoming extremely infertile. So we have the lowest birth rates in the United States anyway than have ever existed in the whole time they've been taking measurements
Boys.
since 1909. So what's causing this? I'll give you a brief guess. There's a number of things, but we've got the radiation that's causing infertility. Without a doubt, ultrasonic radiation stops sperm production. Wi-Fi radiation, all the wireless stuff is causing genetic problems and infertility. And then we have the birth trauma. That's contributing to the infertility epidemic because people have had so much birth trauma that they're terrified unconsciously of becoming pregnant.
I'll tell you this, for me, my whole life, I remember since I was a teenager, I was like, I am not having any children. I don't want any children. I love children. I will be a stepmother any day of the week. I don't want to physically give. This is what I was like. I was like, I will have 10 children, stepmother, foster mother, whatever you want, but I won't give birth. I was really traumatized from a teenage. I just knew, right? So when I had my daughter, it was a bit of a shock for me. But because it was so traumatic, I'm like, I don't know if I could ever have a kid again. I'm 46 now, so who knows?
And really, the only way, if you've been through a traumatic birth, either with your own birth or the birth of your child, if you want to do it gently next time, please come through one of my programs or come me one-on-one to heal the birth trauma. I'm telling you, because I've helped so many people to be able to give birth with ease after birth trauma.
Well, if there's med beds, I'll do it.
It's not a med bed.
I'm kidding. I'm saying if there's med beds coming.
With your own hand, you can heal yourself.
I will, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Program number 3, we've already discussed
fantastic
pornography. I'm not going to be talking much about the Kinsey stuff. I want to go deeper in this class into what this is doing to the brain of the children, because we have children with cell phones right now who are able to access pornography, young children, 7, 8 years old, who are developing erectile dysfunction, who are unable to have relationships with human women because they have created neurological wiring to have orgasm only while they're jerking off to an image on a screen. So we have to talk about what this is doing to the brain, the programming that's involved in, for example, making people be attracted to a man dressed as a woman.
Yep. That's a big.
And then having anal sex with a man dressed as a woman, and why, what's happening neurologically to people that are involved in pornography, and how is this affecting their ability to have healthy love relationships instead of these. See, we get trapped in this satanic stuff, man. These demons. We need spiritual support, and we need the support of energy medicine to break this. We need to understand what's happening here. That's very important. And to talk to the children about this, and to pull those phones out of their hands permanently. Do not allow them to have access to this. It could potentially destroy their lives. But I have to say, if we've conceived children with pornographic thought, the chances that our kid's going to become a porn addict are very high.
Wow.
It starts with conception, my friends. It starts with the consciousness that we bring to conception. So, okay.
No, that's amazing. I know there's so much. This is because we're basically dissecting what created our world, and we're undoing it now. And now in August, program 4, the sexualization of children in media and schools, how we can protect our youth. I'm telling you, this generation is like so sexualized. I can't believe it. I mean, I saw a little, I remember I was in New York I mean, 2003, and I was at a upstate New York, a big summer camp, a really expensive summer camp, teaching kids. It was a theater, thing, because I've got a theater degree, and doing these almost like Broadway musicals. These kids were so sexualized. This is 20 years ago, so sexualized, and I looked after 13-year-old girls. They were telling me about the blowjobs they were giving boys. They were telling me, and that at the time, what was really popular was that clothing brand Juicy. Do you remember that? And they had Juicy written on their butt. Okay, there was this really popular, and especially because these girls were from wealthy families and stuff, they all had this designer sort of Juicy couture outfits, and it was called Juicy. And they had it written across their butt. 10-year-olds.
We have to understand. My niece went through this. She was in a dance troupe and was highly sexualized from the time she was 6 in this dance troupe. We have to understand that the system operates through parents. So if a mother is as confused as I was in my 30s and 40s, the danger of that mother ending up allowing her child to be sexualized is very high.
Yes.
You see?
So with the music
without understanding the damage that's happening. So we have to talk about this. Okay, here's some real juice too, is about the prenatal, what they call prenatal care. We talked just a bit about this with the gestational diabetes thing, but we have to talk about the Rh negative mamas, what they're doing with the ROGAM shot, what the gestational diabetes thing, amniocentesis and all these invasive tests, what ultrasound is doing, what the real purpose of ultrasound is. This is harmonic mind control with ultrasound. This is mind control of the children, and also bringing Luciferian frequencies into the creation of the child, into the gestation of the child, and altering the child's blueprint through the Luciferian frequency assault that we call prenatal care. There's a lot about prenatal care that I could go into. I don't know how much I'll have time to do, but there's vaccination. There's quite a lot to talk about.
Oh, yeah. And I remember you telling me, because I unfortunately, my daughter was vaccinated and got talked into that. I'm still in that fear mode. And I know, I'm not sure if it's Dr. Jennifer Daniels was talking about this. She was saying that first betrayal of, the mother who's supposed to be caring for their child, the medical system makes you betray your child.
Yes.
As you are holding and nursing your child while they are injecting it with a vaccine. And
holding it down.
Holding it down, and I'm breastfeeding. So this child is having this thing that's supposed to nourish her, and she's being traumatized. And so there is a betrayal there.
Yep. I think the biggest betrayal is circumcision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's the next class.
I can't even. And all you guys out there who are circumcised and you have a son and you go, I just want him to match. Like, come on.
I want him to look like me.
I want him to look like me. Jesus.
What did I say? Traumatic repetition. Intergenerational trauma. If we don't bring the intensity that we experienced in early childhood to consciousness, if we don't realize it, we're likely to pass it on to our children. We must heal this, my friends.
Yeah.
We have to deal with this.
Break the cycle.
This is critically important. So this is the next class is about the birth trauma and about how to heal it. There's so much trauma that we've endured in our own births, in my own case. I don't want to go too deep into my own stuff, but to say my mother was unconscious. She was given a combination of scopolamine and morphine. It was called twilight sleep. Scopolamine is an amnesia drug, right? That makes people, if you tell them to empty out their bank accounts and give you their money, they will do it. That's what scopolamine is, and they won't remember. Okay, my mother has zero memory of giving birth to me.
Oh my
She has
God.
no idea what happened. Her body knows,
Yeah.
and my body knows. I know what happened. But at a conscious level, she doesn't know. And she's not going to know before she transitions. She doesn't want to know.
You won't know.
Okay. But we have to heal this stuff. There's a lot there. Okay. And then the
And
last
this
one
is
is about the
really
father's role.
important. Yeah, really important, guys. I want a lot of guys to sign up. I've got a lot of guys in my audience as well. The father's role during the childbearing year. I think men and women need to be doing your courses. We need to create a new earth. The father's role during the
You
childbearing
know,
year.
when you were just saying how they get you to betray your
Yeah,
child, they get the fathers to betray the child too,
and the
especially with the
mother.
cord thing.
Yeah.
You know, because when the cord should never be clamped, that until the cord is completely white and all the blood has gone into the baby's body. That's where it belongs. It's supposed to go to the baby. But here they are clamping and cutting the cord immediately after birth so they can steal your baby's cord blood
And they get the
sell
father
it
to
off.
do it. They get the father to do it.
They get the father
There's
to cut the
something
cord.
in that, isn't there?
Well, they're getting the father to introduce the baby to the satanic world. They're initiating their own baby. They don't realize it because fathers are being told
I
it's a privilege.
requested no cord clamping. I had it all in my notes. They didn't give a shit. I had 2 male doctors near my vagina. My ex-husband here. They're, and they're just like coming in. Oh man, seriously.
Well, this is that they get the parents to betray the child
Yes.
so that your child can't bond with you properly.
Well, you know what? I'd researched attachment parenting, and I'll say that we did this. Everyone was criticizing the shit out of us. And I will tell you, we held this baby
Right on.
non-stop. I'm talking non-stop. I was holding her. Her dad was holding her. She never laid down flat on a bed because her head, the trauma, she couldn't sleep. We would have to, for the first 6 months, sitting upright and taking turns holding her to go to sleep. Okay.
Wow.
And just holding her. And I knew about the pheromones. I knew she had to be in the bed with us. I knew this is what people are not taught. You do not produce breast milk if your kid is in another room.
That's right.
Far away from you.
Your body thinks the baby is dead.
Is dead.
If they take your baby away from you in the first hour after birth, this is critical. The neurochemical cocktail that happens during that first hour is never going to happen again. And that's the bonding time. Okay,
I knew all of this. This is why
broken.
It was so important for me to get this kid on my breast. I was not feeding her formula. I wanted to breastfeed, and I did it like a fucking champion. And I did it with all the people attacking me. I mean, she was 6 months old. People going, when are you going to stop? I remember having a doctor visit the house, one of those on-call doctors. And she was 2 years old, and she was asking me for, she was doing that to me. And she said, and the doctor looked at me and said, what is she doing? And I said, I breastfeed her. And I said, I'm sorry, I have to breastfeed her. And I was breastfeeding her. And the doctor said, she's 2 years old. You need to stop doing that. Can you imagine? And I said to her, no, I'm going to keep doing it until she naturally weans herself. And the natural human weaning age is 4.5 years old. People don't realize that. They know this. It's 4.5 years old. What do you do to a kid at 4.5 years old? You put them in childcare, preschool, you separate them from the mother. Yeah. This is the whole thing they've done to us. Unnatural, making us believe that the natural things are sickening. I still sleep with my daughter, by the way. And people have, I remember when she was a baby and she was sleeping with me and her father, people would say, that's sick. How do you have sex when and I was like, the bed's not just for Jesus, the bed's for sleeping. The bed's for sleeping.
See, this is the thing. Okay.
They put
I know one mama that breastfed until her daughter was 8. Her daughter was not ready to fully wean until she was 8.
Yeah.
So
got cut off.
Women that are connected to their full feminine
Hang on, it's cutting out, Jeanice.
power
Start that again. Say
will
that again.
breastfeed.
Hang on.
Breastfed.
Say
Your
that
body
again
doesn't
because
know. For women that can't breastfeed, were you breastfed yourself? If you were not breastfed, your body doesn't know how to do it. It doesn't have a memory of how to do it. It's going to be more challenging for you to breastfeed. You're going to have to go the extra.
cutting out. Oh, Jeanice.
I'm here. I think I lost you there.
Yeah. There's something, it was going in and out. That's okay. We'll start again. Every time we talk about something juicy, it does this. So for women who are not.
Women who were not breastfed, it's important to find out, were you breastfed yourself?
Mm-hmm.
If you were not breastfed, your body doesn't have a memory of how to do it.
Wow.
So you're going to need extra support through La Leche League or whatever to get the breastfeeding started. There's going to be fear of breastfeeding, all kinds of things, because you don't have what you should have in terms of a memory of the natural breastfeeding.
I was a champion. Seriously, I could have kept breastfeeding. I could have been doing it for years. I was just doing it. And the only reason why I stopped is because she stopped sucking. So obviously you don't produce anymore. What were we going to talk about? Oh, I wanted to bring up, because I see around your neck, Jeanice, I see that you have a cedar wood.
Yeah.
And the reason why, we're talking about all of this, and I don't want everybody to think this is doom and gloom. You're literally understanding the system you came from, recognizing it, we brought it to light. And now how do you dissect that and undo that in your life and recreate your life the way it's supposed to be? Everybody talks about ascension and they talk about the new earth. And what people don't understand is you need to actively create that. And there was a series of books that I've been talking about, Mark's been talking about. I think I bought a set for Mark for Christmas a couple of years or a year or so ago. And this was the Ringing Cedars books. This is the old, this is one of the covers.
That's the edition that you want, edition 1.
Yeah.
That's what the first book looks like. Edition 1 or 2. Edition 2 has black cover.
Yeah, the black cover.
You don't want edition.
No.
You don't want edition 3.
I bought this one. Yeah, I bought this. I've got the whole set here. So this is the Ringing Cedars of Russia. They are foundational books, but did you want to talk about, because I think that this inspired, I'm not sure what came first. Obviously you were doing this research for a long time, but how did these series of books, the Ringing Cedars of Russia, how did they influence your work? How did they, because I can see the connection. I can see the connection, but I want everyone. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. First, I was doing the birth trauma healing work from my own birth because I had lost multiple pregnancies. I had a baby in NICU, as I said, she died. I also had the abortion. I had 3 miscarriages, so 5 pregnancies, and none of them successful. A lot of birth trauma. So I was working on healing birth trauma. I came across the Ringing Cedars books. Now, these books began to help me see where the errors are. That's primary in terms of the creation of children, in terms of our approach to the creation of children. These books helped me to understand what I say about sexuality and the need for us to change up on the way that we are thinking about creating life or not thinking about creating life. The way that we're bringing our bodies together, with who we're bringing our bodies together.
Yep.
Okay, all of this is critical. And the preparation that goes into a conscious conception, right? The book you just held up, The Space of Love book, which is book 3.
I knew that was
okay. This is all about the need for a couple that's in love
Mhm.
to create a space on this earth that is designed for the family,
Mm.
that is designed to preserve love in the family. It's called the space of love. What the dark forces have done is they've convinced us that they own the earth and we need to pay them to live on it. So most of us, many of us, don't own property anymore. Unless we're elderly and had a lot of money, it's hard to own a house, right? So we're put in apartments. We own no land of our own, and we do not have the space of love. Now, that land that we should have, if we create it right, will provide a link with the divine mind. The place on the earth that we create for us and our beloved, where we can take our love into eternity through the creation of life in that space. Children should be conceived in that space, gestated in that space, and birthed in that space. And everything in that space is designed for the preservation of love in the family. Okay, and also to bring our ancestors, the healing of our ancestors through in that space, and to invite them back to a better world that we creating through the creation of a space of love. Are you hearing me? Because you're kind of freezing.
Yeah, no, I'm not freezing. I'm listening, and I'm
Okay, I want to
emotional.
make sure that you're
I'm emotional. I'm just thinking. I'm picturing it in my mind. You know, I'm picturing
the
this
space of
beautiful
love.
earth.
The space of love is a fundamental part of the Ringing Cedars books, and the need to, instead of educating youth about sex ed, how to have sex, the need to help them prepare for healthy relationships, conscious conception, the creation of a space of love. All of this is in my 20-week parenting program, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It takes people from A to Z through the Ringing Cedars material.
Mm-hmm. So this is all
Of how
the
to
ringing
bring
seasons. Yeah.
how to bring children onto this earth who have a full connection to the divine mind.
How beautiful.
And the only way to do that
The creation is
is through co-creation, not sex. Through the co-creation of life, conscious co-creation of life, the conscious co-creation of a space of love, and the conscious co-creation of children with with a real union, in a real union. Now, this book, Who We Are, look at, if you, I don't know if people can see that picture up close, but if you look in the top left-hand corner, there's kind of a glare. You see the filthy technocratic world.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, with all the smoke and toxicity. And then you see coming out of it, hold it up the book a little higher, and you can see the purity of the children in a space of love, the purity of the buildings that are created there. The children are communing with the flowers and the birds and the butterflies. And the mom's riding a horse. She's not in a toxic vehicle, especially not in an electric vehicle that's going to be irradiating everything. Okay, we are back in the creator's world, the cradle of the creator, as opposed to the satanic overlay that is called the technocratic matrix that has been superimposed over.
Yeah.
We're going to return to the cradle of the creator.
There's so many books here. I've got like, what is there, 9? I can't
Book
remember.
6.
Yeah, this is the
That's
Book of
6.
Kin.
So that's book 6, Book
Yep.
of Kin.
Yep.
It's about writing a book that you're going to give to your child, that tells your child about what's happened on the earth, that gives them the information about how to heal what's happened on the earth.
Mm.
Everything that you can transmit to them.
We're basically returning to love, returning to the divine, returning to symbiosis. Jeanice, I don't know if you know this, because I'm a psychic, right? I talk to the trees. I have a tree here that I talk to, and I connect to the consciousness of the trees. I was talking to Mark the other week, and he was outside. It was nighttime, and he was looking up the stars, and it was daytime where I was, and I said, you know what? I said, why don't you look up at the, because he talks to the stars, and I said, you look up at the stars, see if you can get something, and I'll stand by this tree and see if I can channel something. And do you know the message I got was that, and this, we were supposed to, this was such a massive download, and it fits in with what you're saying. The tree said to me, well, first of all, when I went up against the tree said, wow, this is new. There's somebody actually touching me. Okay. Because this was in an area where there wasn't people going around touching trees. And they said, we are the antenna of the earth. We are the antenna, and we communicate not just through our root system to the trees around us. We can transmit through the ether information from us here to another location on earth, and we communicate through to the water and the crystal grid under the ground. That there is this, and then they said, and you, the walking trees, they called us the walking trees, are a replica of, you are a transmitter and receiver from
Yes,
us.
we are.
So within us is crystalline. So there's a crystal type thing in our pineal gland, and they sort of gave me information that the circulatory system was like the trees, the branches and things like that. Our central nervous system was just like a tree. Okay. And so it was that symbiosis. So we were supposed to be connected to the earth, communicate and live in this harmonic state with the earth, the trees, receive information from nature, receive and give. And it was supposed to be this symbiotic, beautiful connection, and the knowledge of everything would be available to us through these trees and through the earth and through what God gave us. And then they said, this is why they started to destroy the rainforests across the world, in Brazil and all of this stuff, because they said our connection and our grid that we created was so powerful, it would interfere with what they had planned with the satellite systems and this new thing coming through that they wanted to put an overlay of, if that makes sense. Can you hear me? I'm sorry, I've got a bad
It's
connection.
interesting because,
so this is what they did. They literally, then I saw this grid, the Wi-Fi, locking us down and interfering with the communication that we naturally have.
they're cutting down the trees.
Mm-hmm.
They're cutting down the trees so the Wi-Fi signals can get to the devices, right? Because the trees would block the Wi-Fi signals. The trees are it. So the other thing that I think of as you're talking about the trees is what these invasive vines do to the trees. Okay, they literally suck the life force out of the trees and kill them. And the root system of the invasive vines is interfering with the root system of the trees that are, and this is symbolic of these satanic entities that have totally surrounded the earth right now. We are responsible for breaking them, for breaking this whole root system. It starts with each of us breaking our link to it, which is really through the devices and through the medical establishment. These are primary. Of course, the government, the music industry now, all institutions have been taken over. So moving away and of reading the Ringing Cedars books, because holding the vision of the future earth with enough people holding this vision of the future earth that's presented here, it's going to come into form. It's already going to come.
It's already there.
Happening.
It's already there. We just have to be a vibrational match. Yeah.
It's happening in Russia.
Yeah.
Right. No GMOs allowed in Russia. Rothschild's bank being kicked out. Soros being kicked out. Porn sites being shut down. There's so much. They're giving away free land in Russia. They're paying people to have big families in Russia. All of these things are occurring in Russia. Why? Because the Ringing Cedars books came out there 10, 15 years earlier, and there's enough people in Russia holding the vision that this cannot help but come into form.
I've got a lot of fans in Russia Jeanice. I have a lady who translates my videos and puts it out to the Russian people. And yeah, huge following there. And they all know
Awesome.
about this. When I talk about this in the videos, or when I
Yes.
talk to trees, when I talk to the trees and I do my tree videos, they resonate with it. They get it straight away. They get it. The Russians all get
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah. This is amazing. And
Yeah.
that's why,
These
so I
books
will
are
put
very important.
the link for the Ringing Cedars books. I mean, it's easy to find. Ringing Cedars books. I've got to talk to Bruce again.
Actually, it's not. There's only one link.
There's only one
There's
link.
only one link. There's only one link. It's in Australia right now where you can get edition 1 and 2. I think you can get edition 2 on Amazon, which is the black covers.
Yeah.
Please do not get edition 3, translated by Marion Schwartz. It is a corruption. Do not buy edition 3. Edition 1 is the most pure. That's the edition that you have.
That's the one I have.
And you just held up some of the books so people could see the images. That's what edition 1, book 1 looks like. There's 9 books in the series.
Yep, I've got some more here. There is 9 books in the series. I think that was the last one, Rights of Love. Hang on, let me just show.
And of course, even in the 9th book, if you'd hold up the 9th book, which is Rights of Love, they talk about how you can clear the telogyny that I spoke of earlier with the chances that your child may have imprinting from the first person you had sex with. There's certain rites that you can do to clear your sexual past with your partner. And those things are discussed in the Rights of Love book in book 9. So
I do want to ask you, and there is the New Civilization, which is the 8th book. I do want to ask you really quickly, what about, okay, so there's a lot of things sold out there, and I know this has got nothing to do with what we just talked about. There's a lot of things sold out there that you insert, like the yoni. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like there's a thing that it's like a detoxifying, it's like a herbal thing to clear. Have you heard of these? It's like I think they're called yoni pearls or something. They're like usually like a muslin, organic muslin sack with some sort of herbs in there, and you can put it in, and it will help to shed any toxic sort of stuff from your uterus, and you're kind of doing and you're kind of doing like a cleansing or a clearing energetically through that. And then there's also some websites have crystal, it looks like a dildo, but it's like rose quartz or something, but it's to heal any traumas in there. There's a particular massage technique.
Be careful that you're not trying to bring yourself to orgasm.
Okay, no, I'm talking about no, there's an actual technique.
Just don't make it about getting off. If you're doing healing work and you're doing ceremony to heal your womb, I think being celibate, like you said early on, this is critical. I've been celibate for 13 years, okay? And I'm not going to have sex until I meet the one I know I want to be with. I'm just not going to do it again. And there's certain rites that we can do. And there's something else that I just wanted to say. And it completely left me. I'm sorry.
About not including sexual acts in the healing work to undo. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, right. And here's what I wanted to say. Like and there was a ceremony that I went through. I can remember when I was healing my umbilical trauma, the cutting of the cord. And I realized that my money issues started with that I was feeling totally cut off from my source. And I was living on Maui when I recognized the severity of that imprint. And I laid myself on the mother. Maui is shaped like a woman, literally. I laid myself on the earth there and I sobbed for the loss of my connection to the mother, my connection to source energy, my connection to feeling that I could receive everything that I needed when I need it. My feeling of safety in the world was taken from me. All of this can be healed once we recognize the depth of where we've been and what's happened to us. And there's lots of things, including ceremony, that we can do to heal it. ceremony, prayer, energy work, take my classes, because you're going to learn a lot, a whole lot.
And I want
And
to show,
whatever else, these rights that are about in the Ringing Cedars books.
I wanted to show your website one more time. Please, guys, below, as you can see, Jeanice is an incredible educator, an amazing orator, and passion for her work. She's given so much of herself.
And don't forget, if you go to this,
There will be a discount. Yep.
if you go to this link,
Yep.
I'm going to put a thing in here that said, for Quantum Truth JCK listeners, click here. Go
Okay.
there in order to get the 15% discount.
All right.
Okay,
And
look for that.
the other thing I wanted to show everyone is, please, guys, Janice's books are here, but a lot of them have been banned from being republished. Please go. If you don't want to do the courses, please do donate. I donated recently to Jeanice. I want, she needs to be, the work that she does is so selfless. It is extensive. I have met so many people that know you, Jeanice, that have done, that you've changed their lives. They are, you know, their whole worldview is changed. You are a pioneer of this information. You go where people don't go, where people are too scared. This is the thing with those of us who are telling the truth, who are trying to educate you, who are trying to get you to imagine and reimagine this inverted reality. Please donate to Jeanice if you are not going to do her courses.
Let me make one step more personal, and that is my mother. I've been told yesterday that my mother may be ready to transition out of her body, and I need financial support to get to New York, because I'm not rolling in dough. My books have been banned on Amazon. I've got no books left. Only the PDFs are available right now. Signing up for my courses, donating would really support me right now to get to be with my mom at this time. And that would mean the world to me, because we've had a difficult relationship.
And this is part of the healing.
Yeah, I really want to see her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody, please look at the links for Jeanice. I'm going to put everything below. She's very generously given 15% off for the courses, and all of that will be in the description below, along with the Ringing Cedars link. And I can, if you can, order her PDF books. We also want Jeanice to be able to publish her books, self-publish them, and have enough money to do so.
I'm working on it. I found a publisher.
You're good.
I have found a publisher, but I'm rewriting, the second edition of the books right now. I'm working on the Birth Trauma book, second edition. So as soon as I finish, we're going to get the book back out there. And JC, that it has helped. Your donation has helped tremendously, and other people's donations. I have to pay for ISBNs, all kinds of things right now to get it back out there. So, but it's happening. We're on our way.
Fantastic. Anything I can do to support you, because you are like, I look at this 2 hours because I love talking to her, and there's so much information here that you want to create a new world. This is it. This is the way we do it. We need to be educated in this. And then you take that information that you're going to learn from Jeanice, and you're going to share that, and then go out and start activating and actively living in a different way from what we have been traumatized by and with. And for the parents, I am going to do a roundtable for the parents who've had major effects of this situation in the last 2 years, of the what's happening with the kids, and the common denominator with the breakdown of these families and the issues that the kids are having is the devices. I'm seeing that. Sorry. So go on, Jeanice.
So take my class on how to break it, how to clear it up in the home. If devices are the problem, let's get them wired. We can keep everybody on the internet. It's not hard, folks. I'm on the internet.
I'm going to do it.
I'm running a business. It's not hard. Let's do this. One more thing I say, in one generation, if we bring these children in the right way, everything can change in one generation. We can make this happen. Let's do this, folks. Let's do this.
Thank you.
From my heart to yours.
Thank you, Jeanice. This is going to be a big one. It's going to be a big video. Everybody's going to love it. Share it where you can. We'll see you later.
God
Bye-bye.
bless you, sister.
Bye-bye.